We are live streaming now. Let me let Shannon in so she can see the participants, and then we'll go on the record. Okay, and I will once we have everyone in, we'll go on the record. All right, as soon as we have an audio connection with everyone. All right, looks like we do. Shannon, you can put us on the record, please.
Okay.
This is a matter of the Lewis Eubanks Bradshaw minors. Ms. Tucker for the petitioner, Ms. Taryn Widener on behalf of the agency. And let's see, Mr. Brown is LGAL. Ms. McCluskey represents the mother. Mr. Kelly represents the father. And both parents are also present. So in the off-the-record conversation I had with attorneys, I learned that all the records have been provided to Dr. Gurton, and we are waiting for his review. Parents have requested in-person trials, which I cannot do, and I'm not sure how soon I'll be able to do them or do a trial, but I don't think it's going to be too far in the future as long as our numbers continue to trend in the right direction. My inclination today is to put off the pretrial for 2 more weeks, and hopefully by then we will be able to set you a firm trial date. In the off-the-record conversation, I learned that the paternal grandparents have expressed frustration to the LGAL that they're not being allowed any contact with the children. I understand they live in Georgia, so the contact would be telephone or FaceTime. Ms. Widener, what would the agency's position be on contact of the paternal grandparents with their grandchildren?
I do know that the grandparents are planning to come down, I believe, in August. I would just ask that that they're able to have an opportunity to have a visit with all of Mr. Bradshaw's children. I know with the 2 being in a relative foster placement, like I'm planning to set up that visitation when they come down. But I guess if there's anything that we can court order, just stating that the children can have that opportunity to visit with their grandparents when they're in town.
Well, I think they're hoping to have some at least telephone or FaceTime contact before then, rather than wait till August.
Right.
Any reason we couldn't set something up there?
I can definitely set something up. I do know that during visits that I observe with Dad, I allow him to have those FaceTime conversations with their grandparent. So I have no problem with that during visits, but I'll definitely be talking to Ms. Johnson and placement of Kylan in August about having those visits as well.
Obviously, I wouldn't want any discussion of the case to take place, so the contact's going to have to be monitored.
Okay, absolutely.
Everyone okay with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If they're appropriate, I don't know them. So Ms. Widener would have a better idea than I.
I think at this time they're appropriate. I will plan to observe those visitations.
Anything else that needs to be addressed this morning?
No, Judge.
All right, let's try again in 2 weeks. My apologies to the parents. I know you're anxious to get this over with. But I can't open up the courtroom to a public proceeding with in-person contact yet because we're under phase 1. I suspect that'll be lifting soon. I'll definitely know in 2 weeks if it hasn't been lifted when it will be. So 2 weeks from today will be
The 18th.
May 18th at 8:30. Thank you. Oops, I gave you a Turner. Sorry. Okay, next up is the Turner Wilkes minors. And let me see, we've got Katie Comstock. There she is. And let's see. Mr. Hotchkiss, I think you indicated you wanted me to contact your client by telephone.
Yes, Your Honor, I have the number if you're ready.
Go ahead.
936-6166.
All right, and before I dial him, I just want to see if I've got any other parents waiting. Okay, I've got the mother. I'm going to let her in. I don't see the other listed father, Devontae Payne. Have we had any contact with him?
Sorry, no, we haven't, Your Honor. He's only a putative father to Samaje, and he lives in Indianapolis, and it's believed he's incarcerated. So we have not been able to make contact with him.
Okay, so let me make this phone call then.
Hello?
Is this Christopher Wilkes?
Yes, speaking.
Mr. Wilkes, this is Judge LaFlamme. We are on the record in the courtroom now. Your attorney, Mr. Ken Hotchkiss, is present. Ms. Tucker's here for the petitioner, Ms. Katie Comstock on behalf of the agency.
All right.
And let's see. Mr. Wilkes is the only respondent in this case, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So we did have some off-the-record conversation among the attorneys.
All right.
And Mr. Hotchkiss, are you wanting to move forward irrespective of whether we can do this in person or not? Or are you wishing to wait for an in-person hearing?
Your Honor, I'd just as soon move forward as expeditiously as we can. Zoom would be fine.
All right. Ms. Tucker, realistically, how long do you expect it will take before you'll be ready for trial?
Well, I did just receive an email from Ms. Comstock's supervisor that we obviously still need to share the medical records. I have not received those, so I need to get those to Mr. Hotchkiss as soon as I get them. Ms. Comstock, do you already have the medical records, or are we still waiting on them?
I do. I can send them to you right now.
Okay. With that in mind, Your Honor, I would ask for a trial date at least 2 weeks out, just because of Dr. Moore, and her schedule is always pretty packed. And if I run into a scheduling issue with her, I can certainly let the court know, and Mr. Hotchkiss.
Your Honor, I would also, if I could, by way of discovery, request that get a copy of the CAC video and any police reports that were generated.
Does that require some special order from the court before that will be produced?
It would be helpful if you could just put a line in your order that the CAC video will be distributed to the other parties.
And the rules on dissemination of that video, are those clear in whatever documents are exchanged at the time the video is produced?
Yes.
How do we protect that?
Well, typically, when we were still working in the office, we would hand them a physical CD, and they would sign the agreement that the judges had agreed upon, that they would, return the CD at the end of the case, that it wouldn't be shared with anybody else, that sort of thing. But given that we are so virtual right now, Matt Way has access and can send it to all of the attorneys via secure link. And after so many days, that link expires. And so I think that's how we're kind of getting around the issue of that video being out there forever for people to share. It does expire after a certain time. Only certain people have access to it. And from my understanding, it's a pretty secure system.
And the restrictions on dissemination are still addressed in whatever it is you have counsel sign before it's shared with them?
I believe so, yes. I would have to check with Mr. Way, because he's the one that handles all of the dissemination of those CDs. It's kind of his task that he took on. But that is my understanding, that all of those procedures are still in place and still protected.
All right. Well, if you think it requires an order, just prepare and submit an order with the required language in it, and I'd be happy to sign that.
Sure. Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, since you haven't gotten any discovery yet, Mr. Hotchkiss, how long after your receipt of the medical and the CAC do you think you would be ready for a trial?
I don't anticipate any real surprises in the discovery, and I don't see that it probably will be very extensive. I would think a couple of weeks would be plenty of time.
So if I were to set a trial in 2 weeks, everyone would be ready for that?
Well, that would assume I got the stuff today. Maybe go 3 weeks out or so. If that works.
Shannon, how do we look in 3 weeks?
If Lewis and Bradshaw's off, then we should be fine.
Yeah, that's not going to go in 3 weeks. I can tell you that.
So May 25th at 1:15.
May 25, 1:15.
Is this a permanent?
Yes. What is the agency requesting as to Mr. Wilkes' parenting time?
As of right now, just because he is legal only to Cyrus, we requested suspended just due to the allegations. But we did have a question per mom for her where she would like to travel. She's actually from Indianapolis. So Santanet was curious if she would be able to move back down there. She's only been in Jackson for a brief period of time. Down there, she will have housing, a job, and supports. I just wanted to double check with you to make sure that was okay before giving her the go to do that.
Well, let me hear from others on that. It's, well, let me just hear. Mr. Hotchkiss?
Your Honor, mom has filed a complaint here in Jackson County as it relates to one of the children here, and that matter penned before Your Honor. And just to correct the caseworker, she probably is not aware, but both parties have signed an affidavit of parentage as it relates to Samias. So he's legal father to two of the children. He also has a strong bonding relationship with the children, and we would ask that at a very minimum that my client be given supervised visits.
Well, I was more concerned with the request to move.
Well, my client wouldn't agree to that at this point, Your Honor. I mean, obviously, I don't know that there's any court order that's prohibiting that at this time, but I mean, I don't know that custody has been established and that my client has been granted joint legal custody. So my client obviously doesn't want to be away from his daughter, but if he feels differently, I'd ask him to weigh in right now.
Yeah. A supervised visit will be fine with me, and whatever she believes to deem to be best for our children.
Are you okay with her moving?
I am.
Okay. Well, there you go, Your Honor.
All right, so there won't be any restriction then on mom's ability to relocate to an area where she has family. Obviously, she needs to continue to be available and make the children available in the event of a trial. And I will order supervised parenting time by the agency or its designee.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll see you back here May 25th at 1:15. If we encounter some discovery issues in between, and you can certainly let me know informally ahead of time, and I'm willing to adjust the trial schedule. But I know that Mr. Wilkes is interested in getting this matter resolved promptly. And given the limited allegations, or I should say, available proofs to support the allegations, I'm going to guess the trial's not going to take very long. Okay, we'll see you all back here on May 25th at 1:15. Hopefully by then we might be able to do an in-person trial if parties would desire that. Otherwise, we'll just do it by Zoom.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day, Mr. Wilkes.
You as well, Judge.
Okay, now we move into our post terms. First up is Matthew Doro. So Mr. Hotchkiss is our LGAL on this file. And let's see. Jessica Urch is the adoption worker. And Joy Jennings. All right, make sure I've got an audio connection with everyone. Excuse me. Okay, looks like everyone's here and has made a connection now. Mr. Hotchkiss, how is Matthew doing?
Matthew's doing very well. He continues to be placed with his paternal aunt and uncle, who are the most adoptive home. They really have no problems or issues to report, and everything seems to be going extremely well. And they're all looking forward to putting this behind them. I have had a chance to review the report, and I believe that progress is being made towards the adoption, and I would ask the court to accept that as a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Urch or Ms. Jennings, do either of you have anything to add?
No updates for me.
I do have one thing to add, Your Honor. As of April 29th, subsidy has been approved.
So the anticipated finalization in June still looks realistic?
I would even push to the beginning of July, as the family is still taking a while to get their physicals done. So beginning of July is a little more realistic at this point.
All right, well, I'm glad to hear that progress is being made. I will implement the recommendations. I will set a review hearing for July 27th at 9 a.m. if necessary. Hopefully we'll be able to finalize before then. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, and next up is Anthony Schultz. Mr. Hotchkiss again is LGAL. And let's see, we have Leanna Scott. And let's see. I don't have anybody listed from the agency. So, Mr. Hotchkiss, how's Anthony doing?
Honor, he's doing pretty well in his placement. There have been some ups and downs. He's had some concerns about lack of time with his siblings, but I'm told by the caregiver that there's some attempts being made there, but he's also showing some progress in a number of areas. He's got some goals, and I think he's actually working towards a trip to Washington, D.C. And so they've set some benchmarks, and he's doing fairly well at making them. I think he's becoming more acclimated in the home, adjusting to the possibility or likelihood that that will be a permanent home for him, which I think will be good under the circumstances and given what Anthony's been through. I would ask that the court find that adequate progress is being made towards that goal. Thank you.
And Ms. Scott, I'm looking at a potential finalization in May. Is that realistic at this month?
It is, yes. Tara Lynn actually has the final order, and she is supposed to bring it up to you sometime this week or next week, I believe. I think the 6-month date is 5/10, so we can really finalize anytime. So it's hopeful that once that happens, Anthony will realize that he's in a stable home, and some of the behaviors that he's having will lessen as well.
Well, that's good to hear. I will set a review date just in case something goes south. July 27th at 9 a.m. But hopefully I'll see that file and be able to sign the order of adoption yet within the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let's see, last of our post terms is Caitlin Blair. And Mr. Kelly is LGAL on this one. Adoption worker is Raven Braswell. We get Raven in here. And the foster care worker is Alyssa Brecht. And there she is. All right, Ms. Brecht is present. Looks like we're waiting on, here we go. All right, looks like we've got a connection with everyone. Mr. Kelly, how's Caitlin doing?
She's doing really well, Your Honor. She's looking forward, as is placement with the completion of the adoption. It seems like the process is edging along slowly. I noticed in the court report, there's now an anticipated date of adoption of August. I'm hoping that's not at all accurate and that can be completed a lot sooner. Indicates to me that this ongoing case is providing some anxiety for the child. She wants the case to get resolved. She wants to get her name changed and get essentially this part of her life behind her. Otherwise, she's doing very well. Her grades have improved at school. She's playing for the JV softball team over there in Saline. Things are going pretty well. It sounds like they're still having issues with payment in terms of getting the oral surgery she needs done on her mouth. But it sounds like the agency is doing their best to try to get that resolved. Hopefully that'll get itself taken care of sooner than later. I've reviewed the report, Your Honor. I'm in agreement with the ultimate goal of adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Braswell or Ms. Brecht, do either of you have anything to add?
Yes. Caitlin is doing well in the home. I just want to give an update from the court report. Her consent will be submitted today. Actually, I just got the last paperwork signed from Carrie.
So looks like we're much closer than August.
Good.
Yes, it is. It's going to depend on DHS's timeliness in getting the PCA 309 signed, but yes.
Great. Well, that's good news. Ms. Brecht, anything to add?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Well, good. That's encouraging. I will set a review hearing date for July 27th at 9 a.m. And hopefully that won't be necessary. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like next up is Camarian Jackson, Keymarian. And let's see, we've got Ms. McCluskey as LGAL. And let's see. Celeste Merchant. Let me see if I can pick up any other names on the file. Looks like just Celeste's. Okay, Ms. Merchant, can you hear me? Ms. Merchant, can you hear me? Oh, looks like I've got a connection. Ms. Merchant?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can now, thank you.
There
This
we
is a
go,
matter of,
Hello.
is that Keymarian?
Yes. Sorry, we're in my car, so it's kind of a little
That's
rough.
okay. That's all right. That works. As long as you can hear me. Good morning, Camarion.
Good morning.
Ms. McCluskey, how are we doing with this one?
I'm glad to see KJ's here. Apparently the only way to get to him is through his girlfriend. And I did call her and she was a gatekeeper of sorts. So I was not able to get through to KJ. She was not intent on letting me speak to him. So I wouldn't mind an update from KJ on the recommendations from the agency to see how he feels about them. As the court, I think, is aware, KJ is just a great kid. He has so much potential. We go through these periods of some rough patches. So I'm hoping that he is on board with the voluntary foster care now that he's 18, because I think there's some good services that would come out of that for him. So I've read all of the material and the court report, and I do agree with the recommendations. Thank you.
And so, Ms. Merchant, let me hear from you. It's good to see that you've tracked KJ down. The report was a little concerning about his status. What can you add to your report this morning?
Yeah, so KJ was AWOL for most of the month of April. But as of last week, Thursday, we were able to meet with his cousin, who is going to allow him to stay in her home. We did a home assessment, everything panned out and is approved. So hopefully KJ will be meeting with Erica Marvin to complete some paperwork to remove AWOL status tomorrow.
That's good to hear. So, KJ, this voluntary foster care program is good for you. It provides you with some real help and some real assistance to make sure you get your life off to a good start. But it is extremely important that you comply with it. There's some strings attached. And disappearing off the radar and expecting to continue in the program are inconsistent. So we all want you to do well. We're here to help. I realize being 18, you would rather be a little more independent, and I get that. I probably would as well if I were in your shoes. But the help comes with those restrictions. So it's important that you comply with the program requirements. I'm glad to hear that things are settling down for you. We will certainly implement the recommendations to continue jurisdiction here, and we will set our next review hearing for July 27th at 9:15. Thank you.
Thank you too.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too, sir.
And next up, Redloff Miners. Mr. Hotchkiss is LGAL. Ms. Tucker for the agency. Mr. Kelly represents Dad. Ms. McCluskey represents Mom. And let me see who else is out in the waiting room today. Jade Blair, let me get her in. Brandon Redloff. And I'm looking for anyone else.
Your Honor, Mom was incarcerated in Lenawee County Jail yesterday. I found out this morning. So that's where she is currently.
Given the recommendation for case closure, I guess I'm not going to worry too much about Mom this morning.
Okay.
Let me ask, is that still the recommendation?
Yes.
So, Ms. McCluskey, you represent mom. Is this something she's opposed to?
Actually, I when I received an updated phone number for her, I tried to call several times. I did leave a message. She never returned my call. It always went straight to voicemail. I tried again yesterday, and that would explain why I wasn't able to reach her. But I've tried to contact her several times and have been unsuccessful. So I'm not sure what her wishes are. But given the court report, I'm assuming the court will adopt the agency's recommendations.
Mr. Hotchkiss, are you in support of case closure?
I am, Your Honor.
Well, it certainly makes sense. Children are in a stable and secure placement with their father and appropriate custody orders in place. Mom clearly is continuing to struggle. Keeping the case open makes no sense to this court. I'm going to terminate jurisdiction today and close the case. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and next up is the matter of Montrell Johnson. Mr. Brown is the LGAL. Parents are non-respondents. Let's see what I've got for workers today. Ms. Fidawa for the agency. And I think all right, I've got a image on the screen. All right, here we go. We don't quite have a connection. And I don't know if we still do. Microphone's muted. Is Montrell present or someone with him? I've got an image on the screen, but it's muted.
For M. Johnson, Your Honor?
Yes.
That is Marissa Johnson.
All right. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. This is the wrong file. Pardon me. I'm going to put you back in the waiting room. Your case is next. All right. Let me keep looking here and see. I don't see any other names that I would associate with Montrell. Is there a placement name perhaps I should be looking for, Ms. Fidawa?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm not the case worker for Montrell Johnson. I believe that's Joy Jennings.
I was gonna say something. They might have changed.
You're right. You're right. Pardon me. You can stay here. I'll just get Ms. Jennings in. Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Jennings.
Good morning. You can look for Donald Dix. He's the new case manager for Mariah.
Okay, I see that name. Thank you. As soon as we have an audio connection. Okay, looks like we do. So, Mr. Brown is LGL on this file. Mr. Brown, how is Montreal doing?
Well, Judge, I was unable to contact, not aware that Mr. Dix was the new caseworker. I tried to navigate through the Wolverine system and was unable to make contact with Montreal. So hopefully Ms. Jennings can give me a direct number for Mr. Dix prior to the next hearing so I can fulfill my obligation. But from the report, it looks like there's struggles that we've seen for quite some time. I fear that Montreal's getting up there in age, that unless we can bring him down some levels to a more family type setting, that I fear that we cannot keep him in a residential facility for years. That's my fear, but there's struggles and it concerns me.
Ms. Jennings, do you have any updates for the court?
I do have one update. Mariah's father has signed the GED waiver form so that she can begin participating in the GED preparation courses. And this was recommended by the teacher, and Mariah would like to complete her GED instead of completing high school due to a lot of missed time for being in detention, being hospitalized, refusals. But Mariah has displayed improved education participation since we've started this process.
Well, that is good to hear. I had to mute. There was a lot of background noise coming through. Mr. Dix, did you wish to address the court?
Yes, I've just been on the case for approximately about 2 weeks now, building a relationship with Mariah. Even though she's had some struggles, I've seen some improvement. She's more animated, a little bit more cooperative. She is one-to-one with staff. She's been compliant with that. One of her strengths is academics, really participating in school well. So at this time, she still remains one-to-one with staff interventions, but I do see some improvement in the last couple of weeks that I've been part of Mariah's case.
Well, that's good to hear.
Judge, if I may, Mr. Dix,
yes.
my name's Ivan Brown, and I'm a lawyer guardian ad litem. I will be calling you periodically to discuss this case. Hopefully, Ms. Jennings, the caseworker, will put me on the list of approved people to speak with you and give me your number. So, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you also.
All right, well, the recommendations appear appropriate. I'm glad to see that there's some progress being made. We will schedule this matter for our next review hearing on July 27th at 9:15. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Sophia Johnson. And I know we've got the mother here. And Ms. Fidawa, this is your case.
Yes.
Is, you know of anyone else that's going to be participating? Is there another name I should be looking for?
No, there's not.
Okay. So Mr. Brown's LGAL on this one. And Mr. Hotchkiss represents mom. So, Mr. Brown, how is Sophia doing?
She's doing well, but she is struggling with depression. Grandma is on the spot getting her everything she needs. It's my understanding that she is going to be going into, I want to call it intensive inpatient, or she's going into mental health and an intensive program for her depression immediately. Other than that, she's smart, does very well, and I think she's getting everything she needs. I'm just glad she's with Grandma, who is so supportive. I'm in support of the plan. I don't know why we have to wait until potentially October for the guardianship. She's been with Grandma for so long that I'm agreeing with the plan. Thank you.
So, Ms. Vidawa, is this a juvenile guardianship that we're looking at?
Yes. And I can file for that guardianship on May 19th. That October date is just an estimated of how long it takes the guardianship office to push through the paperwork, but we already have all the preliminary papers signed, and I'm just waiting for one document from the therapist, which she will have to me before the 19th, and I can turn everything into the guardianship office on the 19th.
Wonderful.
And Mr. Hotchkiss, is your client in support of the goal change from reunification to subsidized guardianship?
And I've discussed the report and the contents therein with my client, and after discussing this with her at length, she is in support of that goal change to guardianship. Thank you.
All right, I was just looking for the juvenile guardianship language in the order. All right, so before I could approve, obviously we have to have the subsidy approved. And prior to that, I will need a updated home study and background check. I'm assuming those will not be a problem. I'm looking for the language in the order. Sorry, these orders are so long with so many different provisions in them. It's sometimes hard to find the right one.
Judge, I think the goal was changed a couple report periods ago.
Well, that's not what, well, let me verify. If I've already changed the goal at a prior hearing, I'll make sure this present order reflects that. Still having trouble finding the right clause that orders that the agency prepare and submit the required. Oh, here we go. It's paragraph 26. Yeah, it looks like it's a little premature to be checking this because it says the department shall conduct a criminal record check and central registry clearance within 7 days. and perform a home study and copy to the court within 28 days, unless one has been performed within the immediately preceding 365 days. Looks like we'd still be a little bit premature on that. I'm not quite sure why the form order requires me to wait before I order that. The important date isn't so much the date of this order, but rather the date of the order at which I would actually be ordering the juvenile guardianship. And that documentation needs to be to me in advance of that date. So I'm not going to check those boxes today, but hopefully, assuming the subsidy is approved, what I can simply say is make sure that if we are ready to approve the juvenile guardianship at our next hearing, that all of that required information with the correct timelines has been submitted to the court. In the meantime, I am going to set a review hearing for August 3rd at 8:45. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
And let's see, next up, Sauceda Miners. And let me make sure I get the right people in for this hearing. Ms. Aroka. Ms. Tucker for the agency, Ms. Aroka, MDHS representative. Ms. McCluskey is LGAL. Mr. Kelly represents mom. Mr. Brown represents dad. So Ms. McCluskey, how are Devin and Christopher doing?
Judge, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but mom should be participating from jail.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we need to call her?
She was the one that sent the kite, and I just requested her yesterday, and she said, can we just Zoom her in?
Yeah, I'll have to call the jail.
Oh,
for
you'll
that
have to
one.
call. Okay, I didn't know if they were automatically.
No, I think they wait for me to tell them.
Okay.
What's her name?
Katie Taylor.
Katie Taylor. Well, they will eventually. Well, we're having trouble getting anyone to pick up over at the jail.
Your Honor, was there an updated report for this hearing? Because I know it got adjourned for a
No.
What's the date that you have?
March 30th.
I don't seem to have that report, Your Honor. Could you?
I'll resend
Rebecca,
it
do
to
you
you.
have-
I
Okay.
just pulled it up.
My
Okay.
report's dated April 13th. I don't know if that's the most recent.
That's the one that I have. It also has March 30th on it, so I think Judge just used a different date.
I used the date at the end. It says the court date is April 13th, but the date of the report is March 30th.
Okay. Yep, that's the one that I have.
Booking, Sergeant Kennedy.
Good morning. This is Judge LaFlamme. Could you bring Katie, I just lost the last name,
Taylor,
to the Zoom room, my Zoom room, please?
No problem, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So while we're waiting for her to zoom in. Actually, I think I already went through the cast of characters, didn't I? Well, I guess while we're waiting for the jail to show up, maybe we can move on to Messiah McGuire. So I've got Samantha Wright. Let me get her in. And it looks like the mother is here. Let me let her in. Excuse me. Okay, looks like we have everyone on the matter of Messiah McGuire. We have Mr. Kelly as LGAL, Ms. Tucker for the agency. Ms. McCluskey represents the mother. Mr. Hotchkiss represents the father. The mother, Marcy Rowe, is present, as well as the worker, Samantha Wright. And I think that's everybody on this one. Mr. Kelly, how's Messiah doing?
Mom indicates things are going well with Messiah. This is an earlier review hearing because of allegations that came up about Mom and Charles being around each other in a domestic violence incident that was alleged to have occurred. I talked with Mom about the same, and she vehemently denies any of the allegations. The report indicates that the MIC investigator was unable to find evidence to support a domestic violence. However, it was determined that Charles, the dad, has been in the building and in Marcy's home. She denies it. I think she understands the importance of keeping in compliance with the court's orders. I've reviewed the report, Your Honor. I have no objection to the recommendation, and I would implore Mom that if Charles is indeed around for whatever reason, that's leading to a removal if that continues to happen. He is not safe for that child. Thank you.
Ms. Wright, do you have anything to add to your report?
I do not.
Ms. McCluskey, what is your position on the recommendations?
Just very quickly, we actually, if the court remembers, we requested this early review just to get ahead of some of these issues. I didn't realize that it was actually set for the following week, but I did speak with my client about the allegations regarding Charles being on the property. We spoke at length, and I was actually able to do a conference call with Samantha and Sharmika last Friday, kind of about the case as well. So we just wanted to quickly update the court. Ms. Rowe she's gone above and beyond, and she does understand the gravity of Charles being around. The complication was that he has a longstanding relationship with the neighbor across the hall and then the one below them. So he was apparently on the property because of that. The neighbor across the hall moved 2 weeks ago, and it's my understanding that no one has reported seeing Charles there since then. She does vehemently deny, as Mr. Kelly stated, that she's had contact with him outside of the exchanges with Messiah because she has to, but that's at the agency. There was an issue. The agency was really strongly recommended that she move to Bad Axe where the child was placed because there's family up there. She does not want to do that. She knows that she may have to if Charles keeps complicating things. However, there are a lot of negatives to her actually moving there. She has been on a wait list for an apartment for quite some time, I think a year and a half or so. And she spoke to the apartment manager, I believe yesterday or Friday, and they indicated she's next on the list for that apartment. So that would take her away from the property where Charles has any sort of ties as well. So we just wanted to get this in front of the court quickly to make sure we preempted any misinformation in the court report. She does also indicate she has a very tumultuous relationship with her mother. There's a lot of neglect in the background. There were actually abuse and neglect cases where my client and her siblings were removed from her mother. So there's a long history there. It's my understanding that my client and her mother got into a fight, an altercation, just a verbal altercation the day before somebody anonymously called and reported Charles being seen on the property. It's also my understanding that my client's mother has relationships with some of those other residents. So there's some kind of shady stuff going on as well when it comes to these allegations about Charles being on the property. So again, my client, we've had many conversations, long conversations about the fact that there won't be another chance if Messiah has to be removed again. And she's very much understanding of that. So no objection to the recommendations.
Thank you. And Ms. Rowe, my apologies. I didn't realize that when I let you in the first time that you disappeared from the screen, so you missed some of that. But
I'm sorry, my phone app keeps stopping, but I'm in now. I apologize too. I apologize.
No problem. Mr. Hotchkiss, what is your position on the recommendations?
And notwithstanding my efforts, I've been unable to communicate with my clients, so I would have no comment at this time. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate the update. I am satisfied that Ms. Rowe recognizes the gravity of the situation, and I believe she's sincere in her desire to totally remove herself and insulate her child from any domestic violence with Charles. I believe the recommendations to be appropriate. I will set our next review hearing for July 27 at 9:30. Thank you.
Are you removing the next date?
Thank you.
I don't know. Hold on a minute. I can't tell from the order if there's a next date.
There should be where I write things in.
Ready?
I see 7/27/9/30 is all I
Right, but
see.
on top there, where it's the other, where it says other. I just don't want anybody confused with. We have a next date
I don't see anything else here. Where would it be?
on the last page under other.
Yeah, there's no reference to anything other than the dates that I just gave. So if there is an earlier review hearing, that's gone. The only review hearing will be the one July 27th at 9:30.
Okay, Your Honor. That other review hearing was set for May 11th.
Yep, you're right, Ken.
Thank you. And I'm still waiting on the jail. For Sauceda.
Your Honor, when she does show up, and we'd be put in a breakout room so I can go over with her what.
Yes.
I'm lost. Do I get off here now?
We're all set, Ms. Rowe. Have a good day.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay.
I'm assuming that's the jail calling, because they didn't know which number to dial back. I'm gonna see.
Booking Sergeant Kennedy.
Sergeant Kennedy, this is Judge LaFlamme again. Were you trying to get a hold of me?
Actually, I was gonna let you know it was gonna be a delay on the tablet. All of them were used up, but she's getting on right now.
Okay, thank you.
No problem, sir.
So I see I've got in my waiting room, Jennifer Shikatowicz and Jackie Carafino. Ms. Aroka, do you know if either of them wanted to participate in one of these hearings?
Your Honor, they're probably here for the AUMAC case.
Oh, okay.
That would be my assumption. Sorry, Michelle, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So while I was hoping to finish up Sauceda, before I launched into OMAC. All right, well, I'm going to let everyone else in. We'll get started on OMAC. When I see that the jail shows up, Mr. Kelly, I'll put you and your client into a private meeting room. You're not on the OMAC file, are you?
Oh, Your Honor, I'm not.
Okay, so this is the matter of the OMAC minors. When I see that the jail shows up, Mr. Kelly, I'll put you and your client into a. Okay, looks like we got a host of folks here today. Mr. Brown is the LGAL. Mr. OMAC, who is normally present, is not present this morning. At our last hearing, I appointed Timothy Williams to represent him. Mr. Williams, have you been able to make contact with Mr. OMAC?
Your Honor, I have not. The phone number that he put on his court-appointed application for attorney, that number is out of service. I don't know if the agency got a dictated number, perhaps.
I wouldn't surprise me that, did you happen to have that form? How recently did he complete it? Or was it completed? All right, well, while you're looking for that, let me identify everyone else. Kelly Tucker's here for the agency. Mr. Brown is the LGAL. And let's see, we have Caitlin Williams here, Jackie Carafino, Jennifer Shikatowicz. And let's see, I see Janessa Cole. Are you from the school? Excuse me.
Yes, Judge, I'm from the school, from where the kids go.
And I'm assuming that's Beth Squire.
That's
Yes.
Your Honor.
Okay, there's a bright light in the background that makes it hard to see your face, Beth.
I will fix that.
All right, well, hold tight. I've got the jail here. Let me let Ms. Taylor in and put her and Mr. Kelly into a private room. You are Katie Taylor?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Taylor, I'm going to put you into a private meeting room with your attorney, Mr. Kelly, so that he can discuss this case with you, okay?
Okay.
So there will be a command on the screen that will let you into this breakout room, okay?
All right.
And then, Mr. Kelly, when you finish your conversation, if you both could just return to the courtroom.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Just so the court is aware, Your Honor, I asked that Ms. Carafino, Ms. Suckatowicz, and Ms. Squire be here today because at the last time, or the last hearing where Almac got called, there was some discussion about ordering the kids into care. I don't know if that's going to happen today or not, but I wanted them here in case that happened so that they were aware as soon as it happened and could make the appropriate arrangements.
Their presence is appreciated. Does anyone have a good phone number for Mr. Almac?
The number that he's usually reached at is 517-414-1529. I'm not sure if that's the same one Mr. Williams had or not.
Mr. Williams, can you confirm whether or not that's the number you've got?
No, that's not the number I have.
Why don't you give that number a try? Can you just mute your end and call that number and see if he's available? If I get him on this phone, I'm just going to ask him to hang up so that you can talk to him before we go any further. So we might just save time if you can reach him. If you could attempt, please.
What's the number again?
517
414.
Sorry, you go, Jeff.
1529.
All right.
All right, thank you. So while we're waiting, what's the latest update on school attendance?
Your Honor, Aiden Almac has missed 6 days in person, 2 virtual in the last 2 weeks, and Sophia actually missed 3. I think my report said 1, but it was updated today that she's missed 3 in-person days, 2 virtual. So there's been no work done virtually, and they're still missing school. They're not there today either.
I was kind of hopeful when I saw that Sophia had only missed 1 day. I thought maybe we were turning a corner with her.
Yeah, I mean, she did end up in the building a few days, but she also missed a few days, so.
Looks like Mr. Williams did not have any success. It looks like I just saw him set his phone down.
Your Honor?
Just a second, sorry.
That's correct, Your Honor. Now, that
Okay. Yes, Ms. Squires.
I have a different phone number here in our system. And the last time someone worked with our family that we're talking about today, we have prevention. And the last time we had somebody in that household, it's the same worker that would now be up for a prevention case, if you think that would help. I just wanted to put that out there. But I do have another phone number from that past worker, most recent, that might work.
Go ahead with that.
Okay, it's 517-795-1843.
You want to give that one a shot, Mr. Williams? So Mr. Almec was unusually belligerent at the last hearing. Typically, he's reasonably respectful towards me. It seemed pretty clear that he has no control over these children. And without some more serious intervention, this is going nowhere.
Even prior to the last court hearing, the court had discussed whether we could file anything more significant, but given that it's just an ed neglect petition at this point, we didn't feel it would even get through centralized intake, which is why the court was considering ordering the children into care if necessary.
All right, it looks like he's made contact with someone. I've just muted his phone so we can't hear anything. Any success, Mr. Williams?
No, Your Honor. I mean, this one I could at least leave a voicemail. No live.
All right. Well, Mr. Almec was certainly aware of the hearing today. This has been extremely frustrating, I'm sure, to everyone involved. It is abundantly clear by his own words that he has no control over these children. It sounds like the maybe a little bit over Sophie, but Aiden does what he wants. He does what he pleases. If he doesn't want to go to school, he doesn't go to school. If he doesn't want to participate in online school, he doesn't participate in online school. We're headed nowhere, and these children are being seriously neglected with respect to their education. So I understand that the agency, and I'm not sure why this is, whether it's policy or what, doesn't file petitions solely based on educational neglect. But I do have authority to order removal of children. And I don't know what else to do here. I'm open to whatever guidance any of you can provide, but I'm not comfortable just simply, it's pointless to keep rescheduling hearings and hearing the same story. Nothing's going to change unless we take a different approach to this case. And I don't know what else to do short of removing these children. I realize removal is traumatizing. These poor kids, I'm going to guess, based on the interactions I've had with this family over the years that I've been on the bench, don't need any more trauma, but they need to be in school. So I'm all ears, folks. Does anybody have any guidance for me other than simply ordering that these children be removed from Mr. Almack's care?
Your Honor, good morning.
Good morning.
So I'll just expand a little bit on what Beth had suggested. We do have the ability to provide prevention services, which is getting a worker assigned. So you're correct in that the policy around educational neglect will not get assigned. We're not able to intervene with the family on protective services end of things for educational neglect. We're simply just not allowed to do that. But prevention, we can go in and we can have a worker assigned and try to work with the family to improve in this area. However, it is voluntary. So Mr. Almack would have to be willing to participate with us. Again, we can have some conversations about the severity of where we're at in this situation and where the next steps would be if we can't improve on this, which would include removal and kind of intervene in that way. So it would get a worker in and it would get us working with the family to try to, intervene enough to make some improvement here and get some consistency in school for these kids. That would be one approach. So there is an avenue to get us involved. It's just not through CPS.
So let me ask you, you indicated it needs to be voluntary, and I get that when a court's not involved, but I've got jurisdiction over these children now. I can order Mr. Almack to comply. I realize your program is, from your perspective, viewed as voluntary, but there's nothing voluntary about his presence here in my courtroom. I can order whatever it is you recommend and for him to comply with it. And I think maybe that bolsters removal if I have to go there. I really don't want to, but I don't want this to continue. And I'm grateful that you can put a worker in there and hopefully Mr. Almack saying things like he's got his own issues and nobody's providing him any help with his issues. I'm just a little bit concerned that we're so far down the road with this one in terms of how these children have been trained up until today. So I had someone by the name of Charlie McGuire just sign in. Does anyone recognize that name?
I think that was on Messiah, Your Honor, Messiah McGuire. That's Charles McGuire.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't know if maybe that was a middle name for Mr. Almack.
Judge.
Okay.
Yes. No, one thing that I'm concerned with, of course, it's the last thing to be able to see the kids leave from their home, but I could be wrong. So Caitlin, if I'm wrong on this, I believe Almack has had this service before, and we're always back to the same routine. So going back since the kids have been in first grade, they have been turned into truancy every single year since they've been coming to school.
Yeah, he's been involved in prevention services in the past. He also had wraparound services, which were discharged unsuccessfully due to not participating. That was in 2019, the wraparound services. I'm not sure on the prevention services, but that's my fear as well, is that he won't participate.
And my file goes back to 2011. So this has been a 10-year journey with Mr. Almack.
Yeah.
And back in 2011, it wasn't educational neglect. It was drug use in the home.
I consider it the same journey.
Yeah, it's all part, steps along this long, difficult journey that these kids have been on, but clearly inadequate parenting. I'm willing to give the prevention services an opportunity. I'm willing to order whatever it is you recommend that Mr. Almack should be participating in. That way, if he doesn't, and I have the ability to hold him in contempt, I could jail the guy, and then his children are without proper care and custody, and you'd have to file a petition. It all sounds drastic, but so is the situation with their education. It's drastic, and it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better with time. It's going to get worse with time. So are you ready to recommend services yet?
Go ahead, Beth.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm on the board of Wraparound as well. And I know Wraparound was tried 3 years ago, but I believe that services have evolved as well. So I'd like to retry Wraparound and put in one of our workers that can be there on even transport children to school at this time, as well as the prevention worker, which is Emily, who Emily worked with the family in the last 6 months. They have not had prevention in the last 3 years, and they have not had wraparound in approximately 3 years. So I think starting with those two and then go from there. We also have a student intern at the office that can assist Emily with assuring that some transportation on the days that they're supposed to be in school, that we help with that component until we can get them on a regular schedule. Does that make sense?
Everything that you're suggesting makes sense. Is there somewhere in the services that you've identified some specific parenting guidance for Mr. Almack to teach him how to parent, how to get his kids to comply with when he says, all right, it's time to get up and go to school, and what happens if they don't? Every time he's in front of me, he says something about laying his hands on his children, and nobody wants him to do that. So he's run out of options. Since that's not an option, according to him, he's tried everything, nothing works. I've taken away the video games, I've taken away this, I've taken away that. It doesn't matter. I can't make him comply. So is that type of assistance available in any or all of these programs you've identified?
We do have some parenting programs that we could also put in, Your Honor, that will assist in his learning, and they can work in conjunction with a wraparound worker going into the house at the same time. So one works with dad on behavioral issues with dad, on how to best handle each given situation that the child presents with the child's out of control behaviors, to work together to get the child to school.
So my inclination today then is to order that Mr. Almack, in addition to what I've been ordering about making sure his kids are in school and participating, that he participate in the wraparound and preventive services that are going to be made available to him by DHS. And I will include something in my order that says failure to cooperate fully in these programs could result in removal of the children, and could also result in Mr. Almack being held in contempt of court and possibly jailed for contempt of court. So I'm not sure the threats really work very well here, but at least I want him to see the consequences of doing nothing. And hopefully we can be in a better place here once these services are implemented. Now, school is getting ready to end, very shortly, correct? I'm assuming both of these children are far enough behind that in order to stay grade level, that participation in summer schooling, if it's available, is something the school would probably be recommending. Ms. Cole?
Yes, Judge. We actually have summer school sign up going on right now. There's also summer camp through Highfields that our school participates with during the summer that has a, they work on school stuff as well at the camp, but then we offer summer school right here at the school. We just do not provide transportation to the summer school program.
All right. Well, if we can get them to go, I'm assuming, Ms. Squire, the services that you've indicated might be able to assist with transportation.
Yes,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
let's give that a try. Let's bring this back in a month and see what level of cooperation there is, whether there's any progress being made. What I don't want to do is get to the start of the next school year and we're not any farther along than where we are right now.
Judge, can I ask one question?
Yes.
Will you need to order the summer school, or is that a?
Oh, I'm going to order it.
Okay. Just helps us a little bit with our leverage. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else want to weigh into this or object?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so 4 weeks from now, Shannon will be when?
June 1st at 9:15.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's go. Because I'm pretty sure that's the week that I'm going to be taking off. That one and the next one. No, I'm sorry. No, it's end of June.
Yeah,
I'm
I thought
sorry.
you said it was July.
No, you're right. You're right. I was confused. June 1st at 9:15. Thank you, everyone. I do greatly appreciate your presence here and offering something. I felt so utterly helpless in ordering anything that would get us beyond where we are. So any help we can get is greatly appreciated, and I think desperately needed by these two children. So thank you all.
Your Honor, can I ask one quick question, please? I
Yes.
just would like contact information for Caitlin and Ms. Cole.
Certainly.
Caitlin, if you want to send it to me by email, I can forward it on to Beth.
That'd be great. Yep, we'll stay in touch.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Your
day.
Honor.
Okay, now it looks like we're ready on Sauceda Miners. Mr. Kelly, you've had a chance to speak with your client.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, well, let me hear first from Ms. McCluskey. How are the children doing? And are you in support of the recommendation for a goal change?
They're doing very well, Your Honor. I think as a reminder, I believe we set this out a week so that I could speak with them in placement about, because I think Mr. Kelly was requesting either a third-party custody order or guardianship.
Correct.
So, and I was able to do that. I don't think I think Mr. Kelly indicated, or somebody did, that maybe placement didn't really understand the difference between the goals. She does not want to adopt. Her statement, she wants the boys to stay with her, and she has every intention to continue that placement and that care. But I think her exact words were, she wants to be a grandma. And of course we had to explore that a little bit, because as we know, if we put a guardianship in place, that could be in place until the boys are 18. But she was pretty adamant that she did not want to adopt. I think she was maybe given some misleading information and the boys, their concern is just staying with their grandma. They, they don't really understand the difference between all the permanency goals either. They just want to be with their grandmother. So I think that's a pretty clear indicator of what direction we should take. And if a third party custody order is on the table, I'm not sure that would give the boys in placement enough protection from maybe interference by the parents, but I would leave that in the court's discretion, of course, but I do think guardianship would be preferable to adoption.
Would placement be eligible for a guardianship subsidy? Do we know? I realize that has to be approved, but is there any immediate obstacle that anyone's aware of in that regard?
The obstacle that we're facing with subsidized guardianship right now is that grandma has not gone through the full licensing process yet, because there is a living together partner in the home of grandmother that we're having difficulty locking down to continue with the licensing process. So that's the only issue that we're having with that right now.
So obviously she'd have to get licensed and be licensed for 6 months before the subsidy.
Before we could do the
considered.
subsidized guardianship, yes. And I know payment is a big factor for grandma with keeping the boys.
So she's going to need support. That was going to be my next question, Ms. McCluskey, is if an adoption subsidy were not forthcoming, would she still be interested in doing a guardianship without a subsidy? Would she be able?
I didn't explore that with her. I was unaware that there could possibly be an issue with a subsidy, but obviously Mr. Rocha would know. So it sounds like that could possibly be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the agency has complete discretion whether or not they choose to offer juvenile guardianship assistance. I don't have any control over that decision. I can control whether or not there's going to be a juvenile guardianship, but I cannot control the subsidy issue. And if she's going to need help, unless we have parents that are able and willing to pay child support, the only support she's going to get is whatever comes through a subsidy.
Your Honor, what might make sense is it sounds like Ms. McCluskey has a good rapport with her. My client is in jail, and I don't think she's getting out anytime soon. She has a May 25th date with Judge Wilson to address her issues, and those cases where she might be eligible to get into recovery court, she's hoping. So what it might make sense, considering the misinformation that placement is getting, is to allow Ms. McCluskey to talk with her about that very issue of finances. Because I would agree with the court when you were saying those things. I'm not sure what dad's or what mom's likelihood of being able to get out and assistance support at this point, but it doesn't sound like it would be any time in the near future, especially if she gets into recovery court. She'd probably be sent to a rehab facility to start. So it would be some time before she could provide any type of an assistance, but I know she would be supportive of guardianship of her soon to be 14-year-old and 12-year-old son. So my input, I would just request an adjournment of a week to allow that to occur, maybe 2 weeks.
And I would ask Ms. McCluskey to find out what the situation with the live together partner who's not complying. And at some point there may have to be a decision made with this live together partner.
Yeah, that's the first I'd heard of that. So I definitely have that on my list of topics. So I can do that, absolutely.
Well, rather than bringing it back in a week or two, I can simply order a goal change to guardianship today. And if it turns out that a guardianship is simply not going to work, just come back either before or at our next hearing and tell me that's not going to work. We need to reconsider a goal change back to something other, which would more likely be adoption rather than guardianship. At least we're moving the ball forward at this point rather than simply delaying a couple of weeks. And we may not know the full answer to whether or not a subsidy is achievable for longer than just a couple of weeks. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So, well, let me ask: is there anyone who's objecting to a goal change to guardianship? All right. So, given that, I am going to order a goal change to juvenile guardianship, and I'm going to set our next. I'm going to order that service reunification services end, and I'm going to order that we have a review hearing on August 3rd at 8:45, and hopefully by then we'll have a much better picture of whether the goal of a subsidized guardianship is going to work or not, and then we consider an alternate at that point. So let's do that. And that'll give you plenty of time, Ms. McCluskey, to explore with placement the issue that her living partner is creating.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our hearing. Have a good day.
Thank you.